Your PM just smiled and said, "That's great feedback," in the middle of your estimation. They did not mean it, not even a little bit. I have been building software for over a decade. I have worked with PMs, I have hired PMs, and at one point in a particularly chaotic startup, I was the PM, which means I have sat in both chairs. I know what engineers think PMs are doing in meetings, and I know what PMs are actually doing in meetings. Those are two very different things. Most developers and product managers are operating with completely different information, completely different pressures, and no insight into what the other person is carrying into the room. That gap causes more friction than bad code ever will. So today, we are going inside the PM's head. 7 moments, 7 internal monologues. Not to excuse the behavior, not to make you feel sorry for anyone, just to give you the translation layer that most teams never bother to build. Let's start with the one that happens in literally every single planning session. You are in sprint planning. Someone says the auth factor will take 2 weeks. The PM writes it down. They nod. They say, "Sounds good." What they are actually thinking is, this estimate is going to be 3 weeks. I have already told the VP it is 1 week, and I have no idea how to reconcile those two facts right now, so I'm going to figure it out later. This is not malice. This is the position they are in. The PM is sitting on a commitment they made upstairs before the work was scoped, because upstairs wanted a number before the work was scoped. They asked you for an estimate, hoping you would say something small enough to fit the gap they already sold. When you did not, they absorbed it and decided that is a problem for future them. What you read as passive agreement is controlled panic. The reason this matters is that if you never surface the gap directly, "Hey, this is 2 weeks, but the roadmap shows 1, that panic just compounds. The PM needs you to say it out loud so they have ammunition to go back upstairs. They are not going to ask you first. They should, but they will not. Here is one that happens more than anyone admits. You are in a grooming session. A ticket is up for discussion. It says something like, "Improve checkout flow performance." You ask what the acceptance criteria are. There is a pause. Then they say something like, "It should feel faster." What they are thinking underneath that is, "I wrote this ticket at 11 p.m. after a call with the head of sales who said customers are complaining. I do not have the metrics. I do not have the baseline, and I was hoping you would know what to do." PMs are often writing tickets in response to signals, not specifications. A stakeholder complained. An NPS score dropped. The PM is translating fuzzy human frustration into a JIRA ticket and hoping engineering will fill in the actual meaning. When your PM cannot define done, it usually means done was never defined at the source. Push for it. Not aggressively, just what does success look like in a number? That question does more than 2 hours of grooming. Number 3, and this one plays out constantly in roadmap reviews. There is a senior stakeholder in the room, usually someone from sales or the C-suite, asking why feature X is not shipping this quarter. The PM is explaining trade-offs calmly, using words like capacity and prioritization. What they are actually thinking is, you are the person who added 6 things to this roadmap in the last 30 days without telling me, and I cannot say that because you control my budget. PMs absorb a lot of lateral pressure that never reaches engineering. Stakeholders who treat the roadmap like a wish list. Executives who make commitments to clients without looping in product. The PM is managing upward with one hand and managing the team with the other. When a PM seems evasive or overly diplomatic in a cross-functional meeting, they are usually not hiding something from you. They are choosing which battle to fight in which room. Moving on. This one is about the language PMs use and what it is covering up. You have heard it. We just need to be mindful of bandwidth, or given our current capacity constraints. Or the classic, let's take this offline. Every one of those phrases has a translation. Bandwidth means, I need you to do more than is realistic, and I do not know how to say that directly. Capacity constraints means leadership will not hire more engineers, but also will not cut scope, and I am the one delivering that news. Let's take this offline means, this conversation is about to expose something uncomfortable. PMs are often working in organizations where the truth is politically expensive, so they develop a vocabulary of managed ambiguity. It is not personal. It is survival. The useful thing to know is that every piece of PM jargon is hiding a specific real problem. When you hear it, ask the plain question. What specifically are we worried about here? That almost always gets you a real answer, because most PMs are relieved when someone gives them permission to just say the thing. This next one is the one nobody talks about. You are in a retrospective or an incident review. Something shipped late or broke in production. At some point, the PM is in the frame for prioritizing the wrong thing or pushing for speed over stability. What they are thinking is, that decision was made in a meeting I was not invited to by someone 3 levels above me, and I found out when you found out. PMs occupy a strange middle layer. They are accountable for outcomes they do not fully control. Executives set strategy. Engineering owns the build. Design owns the experience. The PM is supposed to hold all of that together while having formal authority over almost none of it. When your PM seems defensive in a blame conversation, it is often because they are carrying accountability for a call they did not make. That does not mean they are never responsible. Sometimes they genuinely got the prioritization wrong. But before you assume bad decisions came from product, it is worth asking what constraints they were operating inside. Here is another one that is so preventable. You are in a sync, and the PM needs to tell the engineering team that scope is changing. Again, a feature that was locked 2 weeks ago is now different because of something that happened in a sales call. The PM knows this is going to land badly, so they spend the first 4 minutes doing what I can only describe as emotional buffering. Setting context, explaining the business rationale, hedging everything. What they are thinking the whole time is, I know you are frustrated. I am frustrated too. I need you to not shoot the messenger because I need you to actually build this. Scope changes are almost never the PM's idea. They are the PM's delivery problem. And delivery is harder when the team has heard this is the final scope 3 times in 1 quarter. If your PM is hedging before a scope conversation, they are not being manipulative. They are trying to land bad news in a way that keeps the team functional. You can help by just letting them say it. And finally, the one that sits underneath all the others. The meeting is a quarterly business review. The PM is presenting a roadmap. Confidence is high. The slides look great. The OKRs are crisp. What they are thinking is, we have been building this for 6 months, and I genuinely do not know if any of it is moving the needle. And if someone asked me to prove it, I would need 20 minutes and a lot of assumptions. Product work is uncertain in a way that software engineering is not. Code either works or it does not. Features either solve the problem or they do not. And you often do not find out until it is already in front of the real users. Good PMs know this, and it keeps them up at night. The roadmap confidence is performance, not certainty. It has to be, because no executive and no team wants to hear, we think this is probably right, but we genuinely do not know. The internal monologue of a PM in a polished presentation is organized uncertainty dressed in Q3 language. Here is the thing. PMs are not the enemy. They are also not on a different team to you. They are sitting in a room that looks completely different from yours, under pressure you cannot fully see, translating between 2 worlds that do not naturally speak the same language. Most of the friction between engineering and product is not bad faith. It is information asymmetry. 2 people solving different versions of the same problem and never comparing notes. The most effective engineers I have worked with learned to read the room. They knew when the PM's calm meant panic. They asked the plain question instead of waiting for clear direction. That is not being a pushover. That is being useful. And in a fast-moving team, useful is the highest thing you can be. If this gave you language for something you have been feeling for a while, the subscribe button is right there. And if you work with a PM who needs to see this, well, you know what to do.